Faced with a brown bear several times bigger than him, Buck shows no fear and actually scares the bear, causing it to retreat in fear. Buck is a crossbreed dog living in Santa Clara with his master, Judge Miller, and his family. His gentle and vibrant character makes him beloved and spoiled by everyone in the town, and his larger size compared to other dogs makes him even more famous. On Judge Miller's birthday day, Buck follows the housemaid to the market to collect their ingredients. As he chases a cycler through the streets, a man eyes him and plans to abduct and sell him for good money. Back at home, Buck starts his daily duty by waking up the girls, but what he usually does is turn the house upside down. When the maids in the kitchen hear Buck approaching, everyone quickly hides the food in the cabinet, knowing their spoiled dog is soon here for trouble. As a result, Buck is kicked out of the kitchen, unaware that Judge Miller is already waiting behind him, ready to pull him out of the house. Sometime later, the lunch table is set in the front yard, and everyone in the family gathers to take a picture. To everyone's dismay, Buck gets to the table before everyone else and ruins the meal. The judge, who has always acceded to all of Buck's wishes, becomes angry and leaves him outside the house. A stormy night ensues, and the man from the market calls Buck toward him by using a treat and then captures him inside a box. The man receives some money and sends Buck in a horse cart. Buck barks and tries to call his master in the house, but it is useless. A while later, he is loaded into a train and taken far away from his hometown. The box is opened the next day by a man. Buck tries to run away, but the man starts beating him to the ground with a club, making him realize that fighting back is not the right way there. He sits down alongside other dogs in the cages, quietly waiting for a chance to escape. However, when he seizes the chance later, he finds himself already in a cold and remote place where it's impossible for him to do anything. They arrive in Skagway, Alaska, a land of nowhere. It's the very first stop many people gather and will set foot in Yukon, northwest Canada, where rumors abound of vast amounts of gold buried beneath the land. Many adventurers from all over the world flock to Yukon, hoping to claim their treasure. During the journey, big dogs are essential to sled them through the snowy mountains and carry their luggage. It's Buck's first time to see the snow, and this makes him feel sort of scared. Will he survive or not? Buck's fortune takes a turn when he is bought by a mail runner named Perot to join a dog sled team delivering mail across the Yukon. Buck meets the other dog in the team, led by an aggressive husky, Spitz. However, all dogs seem not interested in him as Buck tries to make friends with them. Shortly after, Buck embarks on his new journey. As he used to be a spoiled dog in his hometown, he finds it difficult to work with his sled team. When Buck sees a rabbit, he attempts to catch it and goes his own way, eventually leading all dogs, and Perot falls on the snowy ground. His large size and disobedience create a deep hatred among other dogs, but Perot is different. He encourages Buck to get back up and continue. However, the cold soon strikes Buck hard, as he has never been living in such cold weather. He sneaks into the warm tent where his boss is but gets kicked out because dogs should sleep outside. However, Buck is well adapted and soon learns how to sleep in the wild like his other teammates and better cooperate with the team. When they rest for the night, each dog is given a fish to eat. However, Spitz, as the leader, fiercely snaps away one of the weaker dog's food. Upon seeing that, Buck quietly gives the dog his food without making a fuss. The next day, when they cross a frozen lake, everyone is thirsty for water. Unfortunately, Spitz's bossy demeanor prevents any other dogs from daring to move while he drinks water. Sensing the need, Buck, being the biggest dog, quickly cracks the ice using his heavy paws. Every dog is happy except Spitz, who dislikes seeing Buck taking charge and being competent. Buck gradually gets used to his new life in the pack. Doing the work of a sled dog brings him confidence and joy. One day, while his female boss is carefully exploring their way on a frozen lake, suddenly, the ice breaks, and she falls right into the deadly icy water. Buck and Perot run toward her at full speed, but the girl is already taken under the water. Without hesitating, Buck jumps into the water and pulls her out of danger. As the girl is saved, Buck is drowning and soaked under the water because he has used up all his strength. Perot then risks walking on the icy lake, calling out Buck's name, but he gets no response. He tries to break the ice, but it proves useless, as he becomes desperate and thinks he has lost his favorite buddy. Someone passes him a stick to help break the ice. When Perot turns around, he bursts into tears, happy to see his Buck coming back. At night, the female boss tells Buck that Perot has never been on time to haul the mail, but he never gives up hope and believes he can, just like he believes in Buck. She then gives Buck some meat to eat as praise. Later, when everyone is asleep, Buck discovers his favorite pet, a rabbit. Excitedly, he starts chasing after it, causing every dog to awaken and follow his trail. He soon catches the rabbit, but surprisingly, he doesn't eat it but releases it instead. However, before the rabbit can escape, the dog leader, Spitz, rushes before the pack and bites the rabbit to death, showing them who is the leader to follow. Afterward, Spitz shows his sharp-edged fangs, encircling Buck, warning him to be careful or he will be torn apart like the rabbit. As every dog thinks it's a warning, Spitz suddenly attacks Buck, making every dog step back and become frightened. With his gentle and docile nature, Buck initially dodges, unwilling to fight his kind. However, as Spitz delivers a deadly attack, Buck takes a sharp turn, standing his ground for himself, and eventually takes Spitz down. Spitz loses his battle and leaves the pack silently. Perot looks for Spitz the following day and has no clues about what happened the previous night among his sled team. Buck gets up and walks toward the front, ready to be the new leader, but Perot thinks he is not qualified. Even though he is big, the man attempts to let another dog with 5 years' experience lead the way, but the dog freaks out, as they all know Buck is now their boss. In order not to waste time, Perot reluctantly allows Buck to be the leader. Buck puts on the authorized leader's leash and gets ready. Surprisingly, every dog bows to his command and runs at full speed, shocking Perot and even other animals on the way. As Perot is happy with Buck's ability, an avalanche ensues from the mountain. Perot orders Buck to turn left, but as a dog with excellent intelligence, Buck takes an unexpected and shocking right turn, leading them into a hidden cave and smoothing their way out, perfectly avoiding the tragedy that could have struck. For the first time, Perot hauls the mail right on time due to Buck's assistance. Everyone in the town is overjoyed to see them, as their hope of life is carried within the sled team. Over time, Buck becomes the star leader of the dog sled team, and he enjoys bringing hope to the townspeople. However, soon, bad news about the telegraph reaching the town soon renders manual mail delivery unnecessary, leaving Buck once again abandoned. Buck and his pack suddenly become hopeless, not knowing where their destiny will lead them ahead. One day, an arrogant man, Al, arrives in the town and buys Buck and his pack. He wants the dogs to carry him to the place where he believes the gold is. However, his carriage is misplaced, making the pack unable to move an inch forward. The man then orders his servant to use a club to hit Buck, which makes him recall the time he was mistreated on the train and become scared. Upon seeing this, an old man named John steps forward and asks if Buck still remembers him. It turns out it is the man Buck encountered when he was first brought to Alaska. On that day, Buck came across John's harmonica, which he left behind on the street. He picked it up and returned it to the man. John tries to stop the man from taking the dogs, but he tells him to stay out of his business. The pack soon embarks on their journey with the new master. However, their trial proves very difficult, and all the dogs become exhausted. They attempt to stop because they've sensed the danger ahead. If they continue, everyone might lose their lives. Meanwhile, John grows worried about Buck and his pack when he sees the weather outside about to change. He quickly finds the group, attempting to stop Hal from going on. Buck finally can't take it and falls to the ground, gradually losing consciousness under Hal's threat to kill him. However, Hal persists and takes the rest of the pack to continue their journey, leaving Buck alone with John. Buck is brought back to John's hut and sleeps for 2 full days until he wakes up again. When he opens his eyes, Buck notices that John is already drunk and asleep. The next day, John tells Buck that he will leave the house for a while, and Buck, himself, can decide whether he wants to stay or leave. Sensing something bizarre about John, Buck follows behind and finds him in a bar, buying alcohol again. Suddenly, Hal bursts in and starts attacking John, blaming him for ruining his journey, as all the dogs have gone, and his gold business has shattered. John is beaten to the ground. Upon seeing that, Buck breaks in and nearly tears Hal into pieces. Buck is pulled away by the customers, but he remains aggressive. John finally calms Buck down, and the owner of the bar finds Hal's carrying a gun, kicking him out of the place immediately. Later, at the hut, John, once again, starts drinking, but Buck snatches it away and buries the bottle in the snow. John catches up to take back his alcohol but soon surrenders as Buck is too big and heavy to be moved. For the first time, John reveals his hidden secret to Buck. He is in Yukon not to dig for gold but to run away from his life since his son passed away. Yukon is a place where John's son dreamt about coming to explore when he was still alive. Now that they have each other, the two decide to finish the journey that John's son had never started. John and Buck set off on their little wooden boat. When night comes, they build a campfire, and for the first time in a long time, Buck is invited to sleep in the tent with John without having to suffer the cold like before. They travel day and night, crossing torrential rivers, and finally arrive at a picturesque mountain that the fairy tales talk about. Buck is thrilled with their newfound place and can't help but explore around. Eventually, they come across a hut where a prospector used to live. John cleans the hut while Buck is busy chasing a squirrel he discovers. Later at night, as they settle to sleep, Buck becomes frightened when he hears some animals howling outside. John explains to him that it's the wolf pack, and they are his ancestors. At this moment, Buck has no idea how life will change for him since he has never lived outside the human world. John and Buck start off their new life in the hut. During their time having fun in the water, Buck sees his favorite rabbit and takes off to chase behind. He chases the rabbit into a deep wood, where he encounters a brown bear, something he has never seen and way bigger than him before. Buck manages to run away from the bear but then comes across a wolf whom he thinks is his same kind. He tries to be friendly, but the wolf ignores him and walks away. Buck looks down and discovers that the wolf's footprint looks similar to his own. The next morning, John wakes up but only finds Buck has already gone. It turns out Buck has grown curious about his wolf pack kind. He sits on a rock, watching as the wolves surround the brown bear and start attacking. Suddenly, the pack leader falls into the torrent when he's about to launch his attack. All the wolves start panicking and follow after, but they appear too afraid to move an inch. Buck rushes to rescue the wolf leader with his kind-hearted nature, earning the pack's trust. Since then, he starts joining his wolf pack, gradually releasing his true wild nature. Meanwhile, John seems to lose his life purpose again as he sees the journey has led Buck to his destiny, but he is still drifting aimlessly. Desperate, John begins to drink again, but Buck senses his frustration from afar and returns home to stay by his side. The next morning, John follows Buck to see how he's getting along with his wolf pack and realizes it's time for him to stop running away from life and that he should set Buck free. Buck bids farewell to John and returns to his wolf pack, starting a new life. Meanwhile, danger approaches as Hal actually follows them all the way to the hut. He shoots at John and causes the house to burn. Hearing the gunshot, Buck rushes back, bravely fights back against Hal, and throws him into the fire. Seeing John is seriously injured, he tries to save him, but it's already too late, so he stays by his side until his last breath. Eventually, Buck is forever left alone, far away from the human world, but luckily, he still has his wolf pack, and they make him the new leader. Whenever he comes down to the valley in summer, Buck always takes time to remember the kind hands and his own masters.